But I'm asking, there we go. I'm asking who is monitoring the waiting room because I don't have the option.
Mike.
Mike's not here.
Nope. Well, we'll let everybody in at 2:00 if that's okay. I'm monitoring. I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, Judson, Bill, do you actually have hosting privileges? How do you have it set up?
Yes.
Yeah, he hasn't made me co-host yet.
As you wish, sir.
You guys are
Glenn, would you
funny.
like-
You're a funny group.
We are.
Oh dear.
Well,
I didn't hear the laughter and applause.
some
Yeah.
some refer to us as annoying.
Yeah. There are several meanings to funny.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we won't ask her to define yet, but people
No,
are
please.
joining us. Hello, Brian, Janice, Jim, and Rebecca. And Billy Spears. Welcome, everyone. We're doing our last minute checks.
Admit all.
Yes, I think so. It's 1:59.
Yeah, let the bulls run.
Okay. 1 minute to showtime.
All right.
And we're ready.
Joy, do you want to take down the waiting room?
Say it again.
Take down the waiting room?
Can do.
Hmm.
All yours, Bill.
All right, I've got 2:00. I want to welcome everybody to our March meeting down here in Richmond. The weather is 60 degrees and the wind is blowing at 40. So I hope wherever you remember spring is coming on the 20th. We look forward to that. And today we have a very interesting meeting with we have a speaker named Kathy Brodsky, who's going to be introduced by Pat. But I do want to welcome everybody and hope they had a good winter so far. I hope it's over. And anyway, Pat, take it away and let's get on with it.
Okay. I'd like to go over the agenda, or Bill, go ahead if you'd like to.
Okay,
back
the
to the
welcome is welcome.
Thanks.
And then we introduce Kathy, and then Kathy is going to speak about her pain management, and then we welcome any new attendees. And we have open discussion and closing remarks, and then we go to overtime. And again, I'll welcome everybody. And the only thing I'll say before we start is please make sure that you mute yourself, because if you move around, we always have some background noise. So please remember to mute yourself. And anyway, I'll give further instructions later, but as of now, I'm excited about Kathy being here. She's all pumped up. We're all pumped up. And Pat, take it away.
Okay, I'd like to reiterate, welcome. I'm excited to have Kathy here today. The background basically is that Steve Klitzman asked me if I would like to connect with Kathy after she had addressed his group, the Bethesda Chevy Chase group, back, I think it was in December. I wasn't able to attend that meeting, but Steve said she was very well received and highly recommended that I contact her. Kathy, I want to thank you. You've been so flexible about a date and helping us match our schedule. So we're grateful for that. Without further ado, I'm going to do a little bit of a bio. Kathy is a licensed registered nurse for over 25 years, and she is also a certified pain management nurse, a certified health and wellness coach, and a peer support group leader with the U.S. Pain Foundation. So she's very familiar with support groups, how they operate, and I think she will address our member needs very graciously. She is also a member of the American Society for Pain Management Nursing and a member of the American Pain Society. And Kathy added when I talked with her, most notably, I am a chronic pain sufferer myself. So Kathy is going to speak for 20 or 25 minutes, and then we will have a question and answer period. And we're asking you to allow her to please complete her presentation, write down, jot notes if you have questions, or put them in the chat, and we will be addressing them at the conclusion of her presentation. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you, everybody. I'm really thrilled to be here this afternoon. As Pat said in her introduction, I started my healthcare career in 1978 as an emergency room technician at the then recently opened Trauma Center of Suburban Hospital. I'm a licensed registered nurse, and for over 25 years, I've been primarily in the operating room and interventional pain management spaces. I'm a certified pain management nurse, certified health and wellness coach. I act as a peer support group leader, both running peer support groups and doing advocacy. As a matter of fact, on Tuesday, I will be speaking to the medical students at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. I'm a member of the American Society for Pain Management Nursing and a member of the American Pain Society. I am a chronic pain sufferer myself. I have severe osteoarthritis. I've had 2 spinal fusions, getting ready to have 1 of 2 knees done, and then followed by that with another hip. So I'm finding the cold weather particularly challenging. It is not serving me very well at all. This presentation is basically about generalized pain, but I do make some points directed towards peripheral neuropathy, which is, I know, what this particular group is about. And so we'll kind of stick with that. So the roadmap of the key ideas are up here on the screen. With, again, an added little part about the peripheral neuropathy. And I did add, this was of interest to Steve's group, was traveling with pain, traveling with disabilities. So I do have some little tidbits about that as well, because it really does take a lot of forethought to plan a trip. So what is chronic pain? Pain is considered chronic when it lasts
Excuse me, Kathy,
long.
you're not sharing if you have your slideshow up.
It's not coming up.
No, it's not sharing.
But you did see the beginning slides, didn't you?
No.
Oh, I wonder what happened, guys.
This is the opposite problem we had
Yeah,
before.
we saw the beginning slide before everybody started in, so.
And then when everybody started in, we didn't see it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, folks. Let me see what I
Doesn't
can do.
appear that you're sharing on mine at least, because I
Yeah.
have that note that I had earlier.
You don't.
So
Okay, so let me see here.
Yeah, make sure she has sharing privileges.
she does.
Yeah, oh yeah, because I was up.
Yeah.
So let me see here. Zoom. Okay. Share screen. Start broadcast.
Here we go.
There it is. It's coming.
Okay, so I got to wait for it to come back up on my
Glenn, she's using a different sharing than we usually use. But we had practiced it. There you go.
Okay, do you see it?
Yeah, roadmap, we
Okay.
got that.
Great. All right, let's get over here there. Okay, so we'll go back to this one here since we're here. Okay, so the late as I was, we'll go back to where I see. Okay, so pain is felt as burning, stabbing, aching, pulsing, and many other sensations. It can range from mild to severe, intermittent to continuous, distracting to debilitating. And here's our lovely scale. We're all too familiar with this guy. There is a lot of talk within the industry and the associations. We are going to be modifying this universal scale that we are all too familiar with because it really is different for everybody. And so it really is not an effective gauge for the medical teams to evaluate where a patient is on any given day. So they're trying to come, the associations are trying to come up with a better, more inclusive way for this. And as most all of you know already, chronic pain is considered a disease, creating notable changes in the nervous system. And the latest research is around neuroplasticity, the ability of the nervous system to change its activity in response to stimulus, basically reorganizing or rewiring, forming new neural connections. Cognitive behavioral therapy and other mind-body protocols, including the pain reprocessing theory, have all had remarkable results and are really getting a lot of activity in the research area. Chronic pain by the numbers. So, as we all know, it is an epidemic. 51.6 million adults. In 2024, that number is actually up from this, what's on the screen. It's up to 24% of the population live with chronic pain. Wow. 17.1 million adults live with high impact chronic pain or pain that frequently limits work-life activities. Sadly, an estimated 11 to 38% of children under the age of 18 experience chronic pain. There are 52.4 new cases of chronic pain per 1,000 people each year, a higher rate than other common health conditions like diabetes, depression, and high blood pressure. Pain is the #1 reason Americans access our healthcare system. Chronic pain is the leading cause of long-term disability in the United States. More than 14 million people with high-impact chronic pain are unable to work. And people with chronic pain are 2 times at risk for taking their own life. So, chronic pain in peripheral neuropathy. Peripheral neuropathy is a condition caused by damage to the peripheral nerves. The damage can cause pain, abnormal sensations, movement problems, and organ dysfunction based on which peripheral nerves are affected, including motor, sensory, or autonomic nerves. There are many causes of peripheral neuropathy, including nerve compression, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, infarctions, toxins, medications, and neural deficiencies. The treatment for peripheral neuropathy varies by the cause, but may involve such things as antidepressants, anticonvulsants, and opioid painkillers to help to alleviate the symptoms. 60% of peripheral neuropathy can be attributed to diabetic. 23% is considered idiopathic or unknown. 10% is chemo-related. 5% is in the other category. And 2% is classified under HIV and AIDS. Motor nerve damage can manifest as muscle cramping, twitching, reflex abnormalities, whereas an autonomic nerve damage can manifest with excess sweating, heat intolerance, erectile dysfunction, and orthostatic hypotension, or dizziness, feigning in change of position.
Kathy, excuse me, you have not forwarded to the next slide. We're on 6.
Correct. That was 6.
Good. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Management strategies. This can include physical therapy, movement, sleep hygiene, mind-body techniques, stress reduction, diet and nutrition, and social connection. And I also add, for this group in particular, especially those that are diabetic, foot care, skin care is particularly important. Movement. As difficult as it is sometimes to get ourselves moving, those of us that have chronic pain, it's important to get started through some level of movement, no matter how small or how limited. And that could be something as simple in any given day as actually getting in and out of the shower, getting meal prep, anything. I mean, it is just trying to get movement. Key reasons: strength, flexibility, and stamina, protecting the joints and organs, cardiovascular health, and endorphin production. Nope. Tips for effective care. Somehow my slide is out of order here. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. I have a slide out of order. That's me. Okay. So tips for effective care would be, typically doctors have 10 to 15 minute block of time with each of us when we have a visit. They try their best to pinpoint what's going on, but unfortunately, with such a limited time, you can end up with a surface level assessment. This could have you feeling like your concerns weren't fully explored or that you were not heard and you still have unanswered questions. I'm going to provide you with several tips that I find helpful and could help you leave your appointment feeling empowered and more informed. Your doctor will appreciate working with a patient who is educated, has a strong sense of body awareness, and is actively partnering with them to help find the best solutions. And tip number 1, between appointments, keep a pain journal to include things such as date and time, intensity, the description, including stabbing, burning, throbbing, intermittent, whether it's, on a scale of 1 to 10, at some point during the day, is it a 4? Is it a consistent 4? Is it a consistent 8? Or is it intermittent? Does it affect daily activities? So do things like the weather, do they affect the pain? So things keeping track of the precipitation, the humidity, their barometric pressure, they can all have impacts on our pain, whether they make it worse or better. I was in Florida last week. It was a tremendous impact on my pain as far as pain relief. Remember to take a current medication list to each and every doctor's appointment, keeping in mind that one practice may not be aware of adjustments made by another healthcare team. This list can be kept updated on your phone or kept in your wallet. And as a healthcare provider, I can't stress this enough. When I have patients that come in, I ask for an update. Well, the doctor has my medications. Well, we don't always. And one system does not necessarily speak to another system. Where years ago, we had tried to implement having, let's say, a thumb drive. We could take it to each doctor's appointment. You just plug it in and all of the information would upload or populate over. Unfortunately, physician practice has become so specialized, they have developed their own banks as far as their information and how they populate. So things won't necessarily populate over. So it's very important that you do that. And it's also important if you could keep have a friend or a family member know where that list is as well. Tip number 3. Using a detailed body map indicator chart is as an example shown on the screen, which I'll get to in just a minute. Take a colored pencil to mark the exact area where you're feeling discomfort. Be as specific as possible. That should be on slide 10. Now, okay, so mark exactly where you're feeling discomfort. Be as specific as possible, and this will help make the most of your appointment time with your doctor. You can find a body pain indicator chart, can be found online. There is actually a very good one specifically for peripheral neuropathy, which is on the, it's labeled painful diabetic peripheral neuropathy, and it can be found at the American Pain Society's website. And the diabetic peripheral neuropathy website should have one as well, and it's geared specifically towards neuropathy. But these types of tools, when you go in with them, as well as a list of questions ahead of time to your physician, it will make your appointment way more efficient, and you will come out with more information than what you went in with, and probably the information you were hoping to get. And your doctor will be amazed. I go in with an anatomy coloring book when I go to a new practitioner with a colored diagram that says, this is where it hurts, and this is what I'm doing when I feel this type of pain. And they're like, wow. So it's just, if anything, it makes you look like a more educated consumer, and we always come out ahead when we're the educated consumer. Sleep hygiene. Can't be overstated enough the importance of a good sleep schedule. Establishing a bedtime routine. Try to keep your going to bed time and your waking up time within an hour range on either side. Create a restful environment. Watch what you eat and drink. Limiting caffeine, for those of you that do drink caffeine, to nothing in the afternoon. Keep a sleep log. Limit naps. There are many apps that are available. I happen to have an Oura Ring. I'm now using that primarily to monitor my sleep because I've been having some sleep challenges. And we know that a lack of sleep only will exacerbate our pain, along with just generally bringing our mood down. So 50 to 60% of people with chronic pain have ongoing sleep difficulties. It is basically just a vicious cycle. Stress reduction. Pain increases stress, and stress increases pain. Again, another vicious cycle. And these are the types of things where a lot of the new research is geared towards with breaking the pain cycle. So any of these little pieces, sleep, stress, diet, movement, anything where we can create a new cycle or disrupt a damaging cycle pattern will get us to a place where we have more enjoyment in our life. And that is the goal, is to have more enjoyment and more fulfillment in our life. So things like meditation, even start with something as 5 minutes, just 5 minutes of quiet time. Sit, listen to the birds even, or listen to any of the meditation tapes that are free and available to you online. Breathing exercises. Some examples would be box breathing or step breathing. For those of you that may not be familiar, box breathing would be something like 4 seconds in, hold it for 4, let it out for 4, rest for 4, breathe in for 4. Step breathing, that is a very similar thing, but it is a 3, 4, 5 pattern. And there are many others. Alternating nostril breathing. People find that very effective as well. That's a kind of a coordination thing. I don't do that one so well. Progressive muscle relaxation, visual or guided imagery, music, dance, art therapy, journaling. One of my favorites, adult coloring books. support groups such as this: spirituality, therapy, coaching, pacing yourself to allow for rest and recovery. A challenge for many of us: learning to say no, focusing on things that you can do versus things that you can't do, communicating clearly with friends and family about your needs and your limitations, learning to let go of guilt and shame around pain and limitations, spending time outside, connecting with nature or with a furry friend. Diet, nutrition. While medications and therapies are often the focus, an increasing important factor is emerging: the role of gut health and nutrition in pain management. Research is revealing a significant connection between your gut health and chronic pain, suggesting that your dietary choices can greatly influence your pain experience. Your diet plays a critical role in regulating inflammation. Foods that are rich in antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids can calm inflammation, while processed foods higher in sugar, unhealthy fats, and alcohol consumption and caffeine can exacerbate it. So fruits, veggies, whole grains, and healthy fats are proven without a doubt they can significantly lower inflammation. There are also many supplements that are scientifically proven to reduce inflammation. These include ginger, turmeric, PEA. There are various other ones. Please check with your healthcare provider before exploring any of these. I know I personally have had some pretty significant decrease in inflammation along as I eliminated alcohol from my consumption. Pharmacological management. Pharmacological management. Given that this topic is out of my true scope of practice, I will only touch on this point. Many of us have our various pain management doctors, neurologists, neurosurgeons, orthopods, things like that, that manage our medications. But things like transdermal pain patches, tricyclic antidepressants, SNRIs such as Cymbalta and Prozac, anticonvulsions such as gabapentin or Neurontin, spinal cord stimulators and TENS units, medical grade cannabis, including topical balms and lotions, that would be a THC CBD combination, are becoming very popular, specifically now that we have more and more states that have at very least legalized medical marijuana, if not recreational. Social connections. People who suffer from chronic pain often feel isolated, and many have difficulties driving or even leaving the house some days. So find your people, your tribe of sorts. Support groups such as this provide connections with other empathetic pain warriors. Find people around a common interest, like a hobby. Many groups hold sessions via Zoom. I know at US Pain Foundation, we have a writing room and we have a reading room, and all of those are conducted via Zoom. There is art therapy via Zoom. So there are ways to stay connected. So guys, I have no idea what happened, why my slides got out of order. So I definitely apologize. So there is, and Pat has a copy of this. So if all of you would like to access this particular hand and foot diagram along with the objective details, she can generate a copy for you. And I presume that she forwards a copy of the PowerPoint. I'm not sure, but it is in there, and you might like this one. I happen to like it. Goes into great detail, specifically in regards to the hands and foot, but you could use any diagram that you can find online. Okay. So planning for travel. This is always a fun thing to talk about, but I think it also, for those of us that do travel with some additional needs that we need to keep in mind, it can be a little scary to think about, actually. I'm getting ready to plan a big international trip, and these were all things based on my limited ability to go up and down hills and to use stairs, where I'm really having to keep this in mind this go around. So as you're planning your thoughts about travel, you have to think about your geographical location. Are you going international, or are you staying in the United States? Understanding that culture, climate, topography of a location is important in planning your trip. Choosing the right mode of transportation. Plane, why they may be faster. Be prepared for delays and have a backup plan. Try for a direct, nonstop flight. Reserve an extra leg room or an aisle seat. Typically and hopefully you'll be able to get up and walk around and stretch. Book any needed accommodations with the airline ASAP after booking, but at least 24 hours prior to your flight. And keep in mind that air pressure changes can affect your peripheral neuropathy. Trains, they offer a smooth ride usually. If you're going on a longer trip, a sleeper car, and you can easily get up, walk around, and stretch. Again, you will need to contact the train about any accommodations, and the earlier the better. Automobiles, you can take frequent breaks, you can schedule as needs, you've got your time, flexibility and time. Of course, not real easy to go to Europe taking a car. A ship. Amenities for relaxation and enjoyment without ever leaving the ship on bad pain flare-up days. Book a handicapped accessible cabin close to elevators. These cabins have limited availability, so you need to book early. The larger ships typically have a healthcare available on the ship for an extra fee. These larger ships actually do have, they're staffed by emergency medicine nurses and physicians, and they do often have full-blown operating rooms, and they do have emergency rooms. I was a travel nurse on a ship for a while, and we provided excellent emergency medical care. You will need to check with the special needs office about ADA guidelines, particularly as they pertain to shore excursions. And that is typically only when the ship is able to actually dock and not tender. And some of these massive ships that are out now, they have very limited access to a dock, and they tender people in. Rental scooters can be arranged on the ship. They can be delivered right to the ship. And in some cases, they can be taken from the ship onto shore, or a scooter can be arranged through the ship's ADA office to be available for you to pick up on shore. You know, aside from all of the things that we hear on a fairly regular basis about disease spread, particularly norovirus on the ships, for people with physical disabilities or movement challenges, ships are a really great way to go on a vacation. Because again, on days that you have bad flares, you can still enjoy being on vacation and not leave the ship. So that is something to keep in mind. Health and medications when you're away from home. Please research laws for your destination. Certain medications can be illegal in certain countries, even if they're prescribed by your physician.
Question mark.
Bring all of your medications in their original prescription bottles. This is very important, folks. I know we like to have things in a grid, helps keep us organized, but always when you are traveling, I even tell people this, even in the United States, please take them in your original prescription bottles. Bring a letter from your healthcare provider with a primary diagnosis, a medication list, and your allergies. Check if any of your medications need a temperature-controlled environment. Accommodations. Keep in mind that some international destinations have a very different idea of what ADA means. If you need a handicap accessible room, call early and reserve, and then recheck prior to going. Check if your accommodations have an elevator. Very often in Europe, we're a little deceived, and your particular hotel actually does not have an elevator. Remember adapters for phones, CPAPs, or other medical electronics. Also, any medications that need to be refrigerated, communicate that you need to have a refrigerator to be available. Any shower chairs or any other adapted devices are also important to communicate. Your diet. We all know that when we travel, our system gets a little out of whack. If you're in a foreign country, we're also dealing with different additives, different spices, and different flavors. So choose restaurants that offer a variety of options, dishes that offer low sodium and low sugar, opting for meals that are lean, that offer higher proportions of lean protein, whole grains, fresh fruits, and fresh vegetables, and limit alcohol, and please stay hydrated. Also, another challenge when we travel, regardless of how far we go, is sleep and stress. While traveling can be fun, it's also always very stressful. So prioritizing a good sleep schedule, this is particularly important while traveling. Disruptions to your sleep patterns due to time changes, jet lag, unfamiliar environments are very common. So pace yourself, especially during the day. Listen to music, deep breathing, yoga, stretching, meditation. All these things to help, things like sleep masks, earplugs, anything that can help you, especially if you're in a city environment. We may not be used to hearing all the commotion that's outside. Additionally, I always suggest to people build a traveling toolbox. Things like that could be compression socks, an empty water bottle that you can refill along the way. If you need to have a particular temperature, you might want to take a portable fan with you. Stress balls, any mobility aids that you might need, cane, walker, walking poles, and then of course a rental electric scooter if you think that would be beneficial. Cold packs, heat packs, any topical creams, being careful with the THC, CBD for those of us, including myself, that use those. In certain countries, it is illegal. Most all of them, CBD is approved, but THC is not. Any orthotic shoe inserts or special footwear or socks that might be helpful, sleep masks, earplugs, if you have a particular blankie or pillow that you like, or whatever that you like that helps to support you. Those are all things that can go in your toolbox. Be prepared to answer questions in case of emergency and you need emergency care. If the country is not English speaking, have a sheet with this info translated into that country's native language. Don't assume that there is an available interpreter. Google Translate helps, or whatever translating app you have, but have the basics pre-printed, including your allergies, medications, primary diagnosis, providers' names, and contact information. Please, I cannot stress this enough. And if you are traveling with a companion, let them know where that information is. It is stressful enough in a medical emergency, and when you are in a country where you do not speak the native language, and while some of the healthcare team might speak and understand English, things do get misunderstood in translation, and that is not the time to have those things occur. Recommended resources. I have the Foundation for Peripheral Neuropathy. I think you're all familiar with that. US Pain Foundation, if you're not familiar with it, I'm very proud to be part of that. There are plenty of resources available there for both the patient and any healthcare professionals that you work with. The Pain Assessment and Management Initiative is the University of Florida out of Jacksonville. That is run through their emergency medicine department, but it is an initiative that is being taken outside of the emergency department and utilized across all, not all, but major research medical, because they're continuing. It basically operates like a crash cart, where it's a cart and it is just full of tools and information for the healthcare providers to be able to educate a population with in preparation for discharge. The NIH, National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, is a wealth of information for all things complementary to standard care, yoga, meditation. You'll find a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of research studies that are being done. So it is something, if you're not familiar with it, to go and kind of play around on that. The Mayo Clinic Pain Rehabilitation Center. It is one of the books that I recommend. It is a fabulous program. You can actually go as a patient and enroll and spend a period of time up there. And they do cognitive behavioral therapy and a little bit of the pain reprocessing therapy kind of integrated into their program. And you leave those programs. Cleveland Clinic has one as well. I don't think it is well run and as organized as Mayo Clinic's. And I know several people that have attended the Mayo Clinic program and have nothing but fabulous things to say. And they left informed and enlightened consumer and more in touch with how pain impacts their body and how to rewire that. And disabilityinfo.org is a great resource for all things disability, including travel tips, and a lot of resources and links available to go to from that if you are in particularly planning a trip. A couple books that I find particularly helpful is by Dr. Afton Hassett. She is a researcher at the University of Michigan. She has about 6 months ago, she released a book called Chronic Pain Reset. It is an easy read. She does have some very easy to use guidance on 30 different tools that you can try, and a roadmap on how to integrate them into your daily life. So I highly recommend that. She has a podcast as well. She comes out with a new speaker every 2 weeks. Personally, I find it's a little dry, but it is very informative. And she does bring a lot of different experts in. The Way Out, a revolutionary scientifically proven approach to healing. This is about the study that was done at the University of Colorado. Alan Gordon is the founder of the Pain Psychology Center in Los Angeles, and he worked alongside the researchers at the University of Colorado. This book is recently released. I highly recommend it just for information purposes. And then the Mayo Clinic's Guide to Pain Relief. And as we all know, there is just a wealth of information that's out. I do suggest that people use Google, but you also have to filter the information that comes from Google. And please don't rely solely on Dr. Google. Podcast, again, I'll circle back to Dr. Afton Hastert with Pain Matters. With Chronic Pain Reset. Again, she has a new speaker every 2 weeks. Pain Matters from the American Academy of Pain Medicine. They're only releasing a new podcast once a month at this point. They're just kind of getting going, but they have a wider variety of guests on their podcast. And then there are many apps that are available. I think I told you I'm using my Oura Ring primarily to kind of monitor my movement and to monitor mostly my sleep patterns. But there are some others. Insight Timer is free for those of you that want a resource for meditation, for breathing exercises, for chair yoga, floor Pilates. It can all be found on Insight Timer. And again, it is free. Calm is another app that kind of runs along those lines. And there are many apps that are coming out that are I don't want to say they're totally AI generated, but they are working in conjunction with AI to help keep pain logs and monitor pain. And they'll even generate a printout of the information that you've input, and you can take that along with you to your physician. There just is more and more information that is out there. And it's always good to explore and to educate yourself and take from it what you can. We all have different needs. We all have different struggles, and every day is different. And we kind of have to be flexible in our thinking and flexible in the expectations that we have of ourselves. I can't say that anymore. I have a particularly difficult time with it because I have always been a go person, and I'm no longer able to do that. And so learning to feel comfortable with embracing what I can do and letting go of the things that I can't do is something that I wake up every day having to do, because every day is different. You wake up feeling different every day. So with that, that's kind of the end of my formal presentation. And also, this is how you can reach out and get in touch with me. I'm always happy to talk to people about pain. I'm always happy to talk to people about any vacations they're looking forward to taking, because that's a happy thought. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy, like I said, to talk to people, or if you want any further resources. Pat has all that information.
Thank you, Kathy. This was excellent. We've had very positive comments from in the chat, and I know that there are questions waiting. We are appreciative, especially of your willingness to share this information, and it will be put on our website, pnsnnetwork.org. And also, we hope to save the chat as we get more questions asked and resources referenced. But your list of books and other resources is just a very good beginning point. Thank you for that. I have to.
You're welcome.
And I laughed a little bit when you talked about the travel tips of having information translated ahead of time. My friend's husband just passed out 3 different times in Morocco, and twice in the airport when they finally transported him to the hospital. And it was a complete disaster because they had no idea what they were being asked or what they were even being told. They finally decided to discharge themselves against medical advice and had to sign the forms because he said, I'm not having anything done, any surgery done in Morocco, I'll take my chances and go home. But I thought to myself, how much value that would have had if they had had it already translated, all his medications, who he was being seen by in the United States. It just would have, obviously helped. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a very stressful situation. I mean, when something like that happens, in general, we're stressed and we're panicked, but you're in a foreign country and you're stressed, you're panicked, you're likely in pain. It's an emergent situation, and you're in unfamiliar circumstances. So that's why it's helpful to have everything pre-printed in the native language. And there still will be questions, but at least they have the basic information.
I think we privileged Americans assume that someone will be able to speak English, and that did not happen in Morocco. It's a very, very terrible situation. So happily, he's fine now, but it's a good learning experience. We did have one person ask about your pharmacological slide. You referenced it, but didn't show it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there really isn't. It was only what I read you. There was nothing of interest on it. It was just kind of a holding place.
Okay.
And all it did was, and it is in what I sent you, Pat. All it does was pharmacological management, and it is just in a list form what I said about the transdermal pain patches, tricyclic antidepressants, serotonin, norepinephrine, reuptake inhibitors, Prozac, Cymbalta, the gabapentins, anticonvulsant drugs, Lyrica would be one, spinal cord stimulators, medical cannabis. I tend to only touch on these things because it is out of my scope of practice. So we all are fairly familiar with them. And I don't really see anything new on the horizon. The FDA approved medication that just came out is really not geared towards chronic pain. It is for acute pain, moderate to severe, for typically the immediate post-operative period, or for a fracture, for instance, for something that's acute. It is, as we know, with a lot of the new drugs, is going to be very expensive. Yeah, it'll be about, it's going to cost initially about $30 a day, and it is doubtful Medicare will cover it at first. So who knows about some of the other insurance companies? I don't know what's going to happen. It is going to also be very hard to find at first. So it really doesn't even need to be discussed about a whole lot, because it's not, for those of us that have chronic pain, it's really not going to be in our toolbox pharmacologically. So I just kind of don't really pay much attention to it.
Okay, thank you. Glenn, does that meet your needs and your question? If she has any take on the newly approved drug, would you like to add anything, Glenn?
Now, that was exactly what you was just talking about. It was a question I was going to ask. So thanks, Kathy, for addressing it there. I'm only hoping that some of the researchers I hear that are thinking of applying it for neuropathic pain have good trials with it.
Yes, I agree. But, our as we are well aware, our research timeline is dysfunctional and does not serve those of us that need to be served, regardless of your disease process. So I think that we're going to be a little bit down the road. But I do think that from a post-operative standpoint, especially for those patients that have either an aversion, allergy, or addictive behavior, staying away from an opioid is a game changer. So this is going to provide an opportunity for percentage of the population that's having postoperative pain or post-traumatic pain to get, there'll be an option available to them if they can get it.
If they can get it, of course.
Mhm.
Glenn, if you have it available, you might post the article that you had initially sent out about the introduction so that people are at least familiar. I'm not even certain how to say the drug's name.
It's Journex. It's JOURNAVX. And it is a 50 milligram tablet. And it is, it's targeting the pain using a different channel, which is, so it's going to bypass that addiction pathway.
Mhm.
And so, you know, there is promise there. I just don't know what direction that they're gonna go with this. And, you know, let's be realistic, people. I don't know what's going to happen with our medical research right now anyway. I just don't know. I think things are gonna, I don't think they're gonna come to a halt, but I think certain things are going to be redirected. And I think that, you know, things are going to slow down. So
Steve's group just had a Dr. Misha Kolna from NIH speak about,
NIH.
Yeah.
you know, and he had already lost one of his team of 8 and was expecting to lose others. So we know that this is certainly going to impact millions of people. I also have, Jeff, you have a note in chat about suzetrigine. I'm not sure if that's how you say it. Is that not the same?
Yeah,
It is
suzetrigine. Yes, it
It's
is.
the same thing.
Okay, he's saying
That's its generic. That's its
Yeah.
generic, which we won't see for a long time.
right. But he's saying, Jeff, how do you know this, that it's in clinical trials?
It's announced. They trialed the drug for both chronic and acute pain. The acute pain was approved by the FDA. The chronic pain trial was a little iffy. I think they're in phase 2. So more research has to be done on that.
Yeah, I know according to the US Pain Foundation group, it's just very inconclusive for chronic pain at this point. And so I think that it's going to warrant a wider sample for a longer period of time. And again, I think we're going to run up against a funding issue to see how far we're going to be able to take that.
Brenda, you were the person who asked about the pharmacological slide. Did you have your questions answered, or do you have something specific you'd like to ask Kathy? Brenda Cheadle?
I'm fine. I'm fine with the information given so far. I think all of us here, if we don't have that problem ourselves, have family members who deal with this. So it's a great concern to all of us to see what's happening to NIH.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not just NIH, it's all of our major, you know, it's our Johns Hopkins. I mean, it's all of these major research hubs are losing their funding. And so, you know, it's and it doesn't matter whether it's pain, it's cancer, it's diabetes. We're going to be halted, and in some cases, you know, a couple steps back because we just can't move forward.
Kathy, let me ask you a question that was in chat, and you talked about diabetes and skincare. Could you add a few more information about skincare and what should be done?
Well, I will only say that keeping regular appointments with a foot care specialist, a very well-trained podiatrist or foot care specialist that works with peripheral neuropathy and or diabetes is key. Typically, what we see institutionally is the podiatry practices are managing wound care at this point, more so than even plastic surgeons who also handle wound care. But you know, that to have a very good, well educated in peripheral neuropathy and diabetes foot care specialist that can regularly check. And if you are prone to abnormal moles or any other skin sun-related conditions, you also need, in addition to a podiatrist or foot care specialist, a very good dermatologist. And yeah, one that, and both of those need to be checked in depending on if you're on a regular treatment protocol with your podiatrist. I would say at least 4 times a year, you should be checking in with somebody, especially if your neuropathy manifests itself in your lower extremities. Because you can begin breakdown, you can be things like fungus, viruses, things can start to seed. And because of the neuropathy, it may go unnoticed for a long period of time. And if you are a diabetic, then of course we know that your healing processes are compromised. So it's really important that you stay on top of everything.
Thank you. I agree with that, Kathy. I just came from my dermatology and podiatrist last week, so
Very good.
and they
Yeah,
found some things, and my dermatologist took his little squirt can.
Oh yeah, you get the can.
Yeah, I got canned.
They
Anyway,
love
okay,
that
folks,
thing.
I've got almost 3 o'clock, and are there any other more questions for Kathy, because she's on a tight schedule?
Well, that's all right. And I saw Lee popped up on my chat. I don't know where you are, Lee.
Lee,
Lee, nice to see you. Lee actually put himself in the chat. He actually went to the Mayo. I see him often wearing a Mayo Clinic shirt in one of my other groups that I attend. And he had some wonderful things to say about Mayo Clinic. So if you all are ever interested, he would be a good one to reach out to.
This is a good point to explain overtime. After the official ending of our meeting is at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We're going to take more open discussion questions after the break, but we are going to also have overtime, which is not recorded, and it allows people who have questions, like Lee might stay if he has a few extra minutes, and somebody who's very interested in the Mayo Clinic Rehab Center might connect with him. It's a more social interaction than the more formal one that we're doing here. And it looks like we have one more question for Kathy. Any thoughts on scrambler therapy, acupuncture, or hypnosis or hypnosis?
I am a fan of anything that brings you relief.
Good answer.
I am. I mean, if it brings you relief and it isn't harmful, go for it. Try it. Think out of the box. Because if you are not living as close to your best life as you can, find a way to help make it better. And sometimes things, you may get some positive impact and sometimes you're not. But you know what? And if you tried it once and you didn't get a positive reaction from it, it doesn't mean that next year you might not. And maybe you just didn't find the right fit in practitioner. So I really believe there is really no wrong answer if it's not hurting you.
well, I've got I have to tell before we take a break, the strangest way that I have heard is there's a director at the WNA who gets beaten up by his kids when they wrestle on the floor. Right, Glenn?
Yeah. Although he doesn't do that as much anymore due to the actual improvement in his symptoms, oddly enough.
Would he improve from getting
Also,
beaten
his
up by
kids are
his-
too big now.
So anyway,
Yeah, but it probably makes him smile, doesn't it, Glenn?
Yeah.
Yep. So there we go. There's value in that as well.
yeah. All
So
right, Kathy.
thank you everybody so much for including me. Please reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to address them. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, let me know, okay?
And Judd has put
Thank you
in the
very
chat,
much.
you can send questions to me, leader@pnsnetwork.org. It's in the chat. If you have follow-up questions for Kathy, who's been amazingly accommodating, we are so appreciative of your willingness to help us. And I loved embrace what you can do. I think that has to be our new motto, because instead of worrying about what we
Yeah.
can't.
It just is a defeating thought to worry about what you can't do. Let's think about things that you can do and exploring new things.
Mhm. All right. Thank you. Very, very.
Okay. Have a great day,
All right,
everybody. Thank you.
Folks, I have 3:03 and we're going to take a 5-minute break. So I'll see you at 3:08. Be on time.
And
Go stretch, drink water,
hydrate.
hydrate and stretch at the same time. I'm good. I think I'm. They're not worried about action items because they're not. I mean, I think the reason they did well.
You know, Bill. My Bill's not there.
Judd? He's not here.
Okay, 3:08. Are we back? Do we have any new, what we do now is, want to address and work with any new attendees. Do we have any new attendees? Do you see any, Pat, any new?
No, not that I've noticed by name, at least. Maybe
people
maybe
coming back?
explain what we're going to move to next. We're going to be having open discussion. Again, open to any question or concern that you'd like to raise, either about your own personal PM journey or about your or questions that you'd like to ask about other people's experiences. And if you raise your hand or write a question in the chat, we will certainly call on you. But as I said, this is the part where you can ask anything that you'd like to have discussed. So please raise your hand or physically raise your hand. Or
Okay, Bernie, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Lee Lefton to tell me a little bit more about his experience at Mayo Clinic. I'm outside of St. Louis, Missouri, and it's within driving distance for me to try to go up there maybe. So Lee, if you could fill me in a little bit on how that all goes and how it works and what your success has been.
I will. Hi, everybody. I'm Lee Lefton for Santa Fe, New Mexico. I cannot say enough great things about the Mayo Clinic and this specific program. You can see I'm a walking advertisement for it. I went in 2021 for my 70th birthday. And it was the best present I could have ever given myself. The program's been around, I'm not quite sure how long. Doesn't really matter. It's given in Jacksonville, Scottsdale, and Rochester, the mothership. The program lasted for 3 weeks. It was 8 to 5 every day, 8 to 4 every day. You go to the clinic and they have an area where they have the program. We did it in groups. There were groups of about 15 of us, 20 of us, and the group would cycle out every week. So new people would come in. The program included, well, you get there in the morning and you do physical therapy and stretching. And there are in the group, you do CBT and meditation sessions. It just covered the whole gamut. A lot of questions, a lot of answers, a lot of information. It was just terrific. The program was covered completely by Medicare. I don't know what else I can say. Just if you go online and you look for Dr. Sletten, Sletten, Mayo Clinic, there's a video. It's about 20 minutes long. He explains the program and he explains central sensitivity, which is, Glenn, you're able to explain this much better than I am, but it's pain, that hypersensitive to pain that it can occur anywhere throughout your body. Mine happened to be neuropathy in my feet, chronic headaches. It changed, not only did it change my life, it gave me my life back because I just suffered all the basic pain behaviors, negative pain behaviors that many of us go through. I didn't want to go out, didn't want to socialize. All I did was talk about my pain and ends up pushing people away. The first thing they say to you is, don't talk about your pain. because exactly that, it pushes people away. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help others. It was just a wealth of information. If any of you guys have any questions for me, ask away, or I can give you my email address in the chat and you can get in touch with me.
Lee, I'd like to do that just quickly. Do they put you up for those 3 weeks? Is that all covered?
No, you have to find a place. But, in Rochester, we were around the corner at a wonderful, it was like a suite hotel. I mean, we had everything we needed. We had a washer and dryer in the room. The first 3 floors of the hotel were staff, Mayo Clinic staff, and the rest were guests. Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, if you give me your email address, I would very much appreciate that.
I will. I'll put that in the
Lee,
chat.
can you put your email in the chat for us, please?
I will.
Thank you, Lee.
I just put up the mayoclinic.org, but I did not find Dr. Sletten. Is it Sletten?
Correct. If you
Okay.
type Mayo Clinic, Dr. Sletten, Mayo Clinic, maybe central sensitization also.
Okay,
See if you can find him, Pat.
sure, I will. Well, the Pain Rehabilitation Center, when you go to mayoclinic.org and you click on Pain Rehabilitation Center, gives you an opportunity to request an appointment. It also tells you the protocol, basically what's involved, and referrals if they're needed, the core components. So it's very helpful. I'll still keep looking for Dr. Sletten while we have other questions.
Okay,
pain
thank you,
rehabilitation.
Lee, and if you can put your, as I said, email in the chat,
I'll
that'd be
do.
great. Bernie,
Yeah.
Bernie, any other questions or any other questions for Lee?
No, I don't think so at the moment. That does help me though. Do you stay over weekends or are you home then on weekends?
Wherever, if you live there, you can go home. I mean, we lived in New Mexico and we went to Minnesota, so we stayed the whole time. We
Stayed
took
the 2 weeks.
a week ahead of time and a week after, just so we could hang around the town. Just don't, if you're going to go to Rochester, do not go in the summer or the winter.
I'm sure the winter I'd be afraid of. Summer
Brutal.
okay. Must be better than St. Louis. Is it a true full 3 weeks? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yep.
At Mayo.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Margie, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Oh, wait, yes, okay. For those of you who might have I have neuropathy in my feet. It's been spreading up my legs. I have a new sensation in my hand, and I don't know and it's just the middle finger. It almost feels like there's a clothespin squeezing it. Does this sound like neuropathy or something else? I saw my neurosurgeon, and he thought it could be carpal tunnel. So I'm curious about other people's experiences.
If it's carpal tunnel, it's still neuropathy. That's just a fancy way for a specific type of neuropathy in a specific location. But almost anybody with a systemic neuropathy is going to be more prone to those particular localized neuropathies. The symptoms you're describing are certainly not out of the realm of possibility of what many of us feel. So,
okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Pat, go ahead.
Margie, I'd just like to quickly say that I'm going through the same question. For the first time, I felt the numbness and tingling in my fingers. Saw a hand surgeon, had an EMG, showed that I definitely had carpal tunnel in both hands. However, he also found arthritis and gave me a custom brace and a cortisone shot for the arthritis. But the numbness went away. So the question now is, do I need carpal tunnel surgery? And I don't want to go into all this, but I just wanted you to know that there are others of us struggling with the same questions. And my doctor yesterday, my internist, said, I don't believe you have I don't believe you are going to get relief from your carpal tunnel, which the EMZ shows, just by a brace and a cortisone shot that's really addressing the arthritis. And I said, well, how come all the pain and tingling and numbness went away? And she said, ask your hand surgeon. So I'm back to full circle of asking, hopefully the right questions to the right people.
I see. All right, thanks, Pat.
Okay, Bernadette, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Hi. So this is just my second time at the group. I came last month for the first time and I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
I had my my second EMG this week with my neurologist, and he diagnosed me with small fiber neuropathy. And I had been telling, since my neuropathy started 2 years ago, I'd been saying that I'm like a summer girl. I love the heat normally, and all of a sudden I cannot tolerate the heat. Like I feel very sick. I have to have ice packs with me. And I asked if that had anything to do with the neuropathy, and I was told no, it does not. So I wanted experiences on that, and also I also asked about, you know, I used to hike like 6 miles, and I can't, but I've been trying for 2 miles anyway, and I said that I was really working at it, and he said, really, Bernadette, exercise is not going to matter. It's not going to help you any. And I left there feeling he said it's just going to get worse, and that's all. And I felt very discouraged. So I just wanted to reach out to the group. I was so glad that today was the group time, and get experiences. Thank you.
I feel very bad for you, Bernadette, because I hate neurologists who say that things can't get a little bit better, because it certainly depends upon what the cause of the neuropathy is, particularly if there's either toxic nutritional or autoimmune causes. There are therapies for that. A couple of comments I'll make. If they're diagnosing small fiber neuropathy off of a nerve conduction study, they're doing that because of the absence of large fiber evidence from the nerve conduction study. Nerve conduction studies just can't really assess small fiber nerves. They're too small. Usually skin biopsy is done to confirm that diagnosis. But in terms of the heat intolerance, it could very well be part of a small fiber neuropathy, simply because the autonomic fibers that control many of our involuntary functions, including sweating, as well as gastrointestinal and many of the other autonomic functions, can often be affected in small fiber syndromes. It's actually estimated that most people with a small fiber syndrome probably have some autonomic involvement, although it's not always very prominent. There are people who have prominent autonomic involvement where it's then called dysautonomia. But I certainly don't have the heat tolerance that I once did, and I have a small fiber syndrome. I tend to sweat more than I should, you know, and some people actually have the opposite problem where they don't sweat as much as they should, and they tend to overheat. So, you know, all of these type of things in terms of autonomic functions are something that you have to be aware of and watch out for. You know, also watch out for other autonomic things, blood pressure swings, heart rate swings. You know, these can all manifest from these type of neuropathies. Gastrointestinal upset, in particular, things like constipation are often linked to these particular types of syndromes.
Thank you. I have all of those. So,
I'm sorry to hear that.
which I had brought up, the heart rate was been crazy. It's yeah, I've got all of it. So thank you anyway for that input. I appreciate it.
I can't believe that they said that they downplayed exercise. When I saw Dr. Hoke at Hopkins in 2015 with my initial diagnosis of idiopathic small fiber, he said there is no treatment, there is no cure per se. There's no actual absolute treatment. There is treatment, but no absolute cure in the horizon, and that was 2015. And he said, my advice is exercise, exercise, exercise. So that, and as far as the balance issue, we have to keep moving. We have to keep working on it. I can't imagine him saying that exercise wouldn't make a difference.
Well, one of my favorite things I always say at the end is, I'll say it now, motion is lotion, rest is rust. Anyway, okay, Mary, you had your hand up.
So
Go
just to briefly encourage Bernadette, I see you as a young woman starting your neuropathy journey, which would have been me many years ago. I've had it for a long time. and I always exercised. Many of the things I used to do, I can't do anymore, but if you can find that one thing at least that you enjoy doing, just do it. Right now I'm a swimmer, and I feel like I can't go on without swimming, at least, several times a week. So find your thing and make adaptations and just go for it, Bernadette.
I agree with that 100%. I'm a swimmer too, and I'm a firm believer in swimming. Even kick your legs to death, walk in the water. If you can't swim, walk in the water, walk in the shallow end, or whatever. Anyway, Carolyn, go ahead.
So like Bernadette, last month was my first one. And at that point, I hadn't gotten the results of my study, but I saw the podiatrist in between these two meetings. He also really didn't encourage exercise or anything else. I have moderate levels based on the nerve conduction studies. Right now, it's just odd feelings in my feet, and I'm starting to get tingling in my fingers. But I asked about follow-up, and he really mostly said there wasn't much to do until and unless I had symptoms. And so he kind of just left it at that point. I'm figuring I'm going back to my primary care and hoping that she will have some other suggestions. But from those of you who have been in it a while, are there things you wish you had done early on? The habits, I mean, general diet and general exercise, I know, but are there things to pay attention to catch early, or is it really predominantly based on responding to the symptoms as they come?
Who would like to respond to that one? Pat, go ahead.
Pat Gualtieri?
Oh, I thought your hand was up. I'm sorry.
I mean, I could respond, but I've been talking a lot. I'd rather have someone else
I
respond.
think everybody could. Me too. Let me see. I think, I'll just very briefly, I think you ought to start keeping a journal of what's going on. Not only a medical journal, but a diet journal and the weather journal and what's going on. So when you do go to a doctor, you can say, look, I found out that my fingers hurt more during the summer or whatever, or when I walk a lot. I mean, just as Kathy was saying during her talk, it's very good to go into when you see your doctor to tell them what is happening to you, and yes, this is where it hurts, and this is what I need, and you can go from there. But also, a neuromuscular doctor and neurologist is one of the best people, doctors to see if you think you have PN. Yes, Pat, I knew your hand was up.
No, it just went up as a follow-up to what you said. I'm going to go over what the notes I had from Kathy as far as the pain journal. She's saying if you come in as an educated, self-aware, and active participant, you'll get more response from your doctor. She said to keep a journal that has date and time, the intensity and description of your pain, using a pain scale, and I'll talk about that in a second. Write down whether it's consistent or intermittent pain, whether it affects your daily activities, and if so, how, what the weather is, including even things like barometric pressure, and always take with you a medication list. Remember, we are going to be putting her slideshow up, so this is just, talking about what she, reminding you about what she said. I did spend a few minutes looking for a pain indicator, pain scale indicator at Diabetes and American Pain, and I didn't find it quickly. So there were many, is what I should say. Remembering she's saying, take a colored pencil and write exactly where you are hurting and the intensity of that, and 0 to 10, and as a helpful visual to take with you to the doctor. So we will make sure that we find an accurate or reasonable one and add that to the website too.
Carolyn, Any other I mean, did that help you with your situation?
It does, and journaling's a good idea. I've actually, for the last couple of years, just for other medical stuff, in notes have a bunch of things. So I was able, when these neuropathy things came up, to kind of reference back and know how far back it was. So, but weather, I don't think I'd ever thought about tracking the weather with it, and I
No,
do
the weather,
understand that.
the winter kills my feet.
Yeah.
I mean,
And my daughter has EDS issues, and for her, weather is important.
I'm
but
so glad to see the winter go away. It's, anyway.
Yeah,
Mary,
all right.
your hand is up. Go ahead,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Just a quick add-on for Carolyn and anyone else. Back when I was younger, I actually did not have a diagnosis. And so I didn't have a diagnosis until 2009. I'm not sure it would have changed any of my behavior, but what I do tell my friends, that if they love to travel and they still can travel, go for it if that works into your finances and other things. Because that's something I don't miss it. I don't long for it. And so I'm okay with that. But I couldn't travel really very easily right now, but I could have a while ago. So just something to keep in mind if that's something you'd really like to do. I have some friends that travel all the time, so just go for it.
Right. Any other, Rebecca?
Talking about traveling, Mary, or some of my local people, that my husband and I travel a lot. We try to take 2 big trips a year to Europe or to wherever. It's getting to the point where I can't walk as far or as fast anymore. So I've been toying. I saw an advertisement on the Facebook for a Rollinator that's for it's for people who hike. You can go out in the woods or you can go on the beach and you can maneuver it around. Does anybody here have anything like that? We're getting ready to travel in a couple of months to Prague and Berlin, and Prague is very hilly. So I was thinking about maybe trying to, go down to Mobility City and see if they've got something I can rent for a few weeks down there before I splurge and purchase. Anybody? Rollators? No?
I just purchased a rollator. I just started using it a few weeks ago because I have a lot of problems walking. I fall quite a bit. It makes getting around quite a bit easier. It has a lot of.
Yeah, I don't need it to get around, but I'm just thinking when we're out hiking around, when we're on this trip, yeah. All-terrain rollator. I'm just thinking that because when I start walking or when I'm having to stand for any length of time, my back starts hurting me. And if I had something like this, I could bend over and stretch my back out. So.
Yeah. So it can be used for multiple purposes. Sometimes I use it when I don't think I need to, because by the time I get out and get around, my legs start to go. So I need it. If you're going to use it like the way you say you're going to use it, you want to make sure you have good wheels for it to deal with the all-terrain stuff. And usually the place where you buy it can recommend that. Oh, and definitely you want something sturdy. The other thing you might want to try, you can have your doctor write a script for it and save some money on it as well.
Oh, okay. Well, the reason I started thinking about this rollator thing is because I've noticed when I'm in the grocery store and I'm pushing a buggy, I can hike around all over the place and go just as fast as I always have. But if I don't have that, and I have to slow down and have my cane with me just in case. So anyway, yeah. I'm gonna try to go to Mobility City. I'll fill my DC group in next week about this.
Rebecca, one thing I learned from when I went to Mobility City was to look for two things: a way to be able to break and sit down. And the second thing, which I never realized, you can actually buy a like a shelf that attaches to the front. So if you want to put something like your dinner down on it, and then you can move easier into the room, freeing up your hands to obviously to manipulate the walker or the rollator. So I thought that was an interesting addition.
Yeah, I just thought maybe I'll go down and try them, kind of test it out and see what I think. The one that I'm trying to think, I think it's called BY by Acre is the one I've seen, and they're expensive. They're like $700, but it weighs only like 8 pounds and it folds up, so you can stick it in the overhead bin on the airplane. And sorry, I got a kitty cat here that's making a mess. So I'll keep you posted.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate that.
Nice.
Bernadette, your hands up again.
Rich is waving too, so.
Yeah. Sorry to miss the first hour of the meeting. The grandkids had their last basketball game of the season, and my father-in-law didn't want to miss it. So
Who won? Did we win?
you know what? I'll tell you what's so fun to watch these kids. If you want to feel younger, you just go out and watch them, because at the age of 5, they have basketball for these kids. They keep a clock, but they do not keep score. It's not about the winning.
Oh, good.
It's about developing a love for the game, and they can double dribble, triple dribble, and all that kind of stuff. But I said they don't keep score. I think some of the parents do mentally.
Yeah.
You know how that is. But anyway, what I was going to say about traveling, we just finished a trip, and that's my background there. It is the Gulf of Mexico, I think, but someone had changed the name. But anyway, we had a beautiful time there. But what we took with us, and they do come in handy, are these travel hiking sticks.
Yeah.
And it's another option. I mean, it's not as good as a rollator type of thing, but what's really nice about them is they fold up so compactly. I don't have anything ready to show here, but you can go on Amazon, and if you just look for travel hiking sticks, I'm sure if that's something you're interested in.
Yeah, my husband is, as a matter of fact, carries those. So when we're out walking, he uses those.
They're handy. And in fact, the other day, my wife and I were out going for a walk, and there was a guy who was just, full bore. And we asked him, he looked pretty healthy, and he said he was getting ready to get in shape for a trip that was coming up. And he was going to, like when you said Prague, I started thinking about those. There you go. Started thinking about those hills. And what was handy is that you never know when they might be helpful. So you can carry them around if you have a backpack and that looks just like some of the. I know those are along the line of what we have. And if you need them, they're really handy. But this guy also was telling, it was, well, it's interesting. And he said, yeah, and it gives me a little bit of an upper body workout as well.
Thank you, Rich. Bernadette, your hand
Actually,
is up again.
That's what I was going to say was about the travel hiking sticks, because poles, because I actually I'm petrified. I'll be honest. My nephew surprised me, and he's taking me to Italy at the end of April. Ooh. And which is where my grandfather was born, and I've never been, but my family doesn't understand neuropathy at all. My family is all very healthy. They don't understand neuropathy. They don't accept that I have it. And I'm really nervous because there's so many cobblestones, and they're talking about walking 10 miles a day. And my sister and her husband will be there already. So anyway, I have been nervous about it. And so I have the hiking poles and travel ones, and I thought that I would bring them because they at least give me just to stop and hold on to it for a minute gives me that second. So I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm going to try. But I'm excited, but I'm very nervous about it too. Thanks.
Well, good luck to you, and go for it. Mike, your hand's up. Mike Foxworth.
I just wanted to comment on rollators. I have a rollator I bought when we went on a trip, and I knew I was going to do a lot of walking, but I use it now when I go to exercise classes. Exercise classes usually have a chair. Everybody at some point sits in the chair to do certain exercises. And I find it very difficult to get up and down from a chair, from a typical chair. I can, but it's very difficult for me to do. So I take my rollator. So for parts of the exercise that involve sitting, I can get it up and down from the rollator much more easily because it's got the two handles. And that just the little tip that's really the only thing I use the rollator for. Though I will say that most rollators can also be used as a wheelchair. Back in 2021, when my wife was very sick, I used it as a wheelchair for her to take her to various appointments.
Yeah, they can confer it. Thank you, Mike. Bernie, go ahead.
Yeah, I find someone mentioned earlier about a shopping cart in the store. I can go to the grocery store and with that shopping cart, I walk along like I have no problem. And I don't even necessarily feel that my legs are giving out. When I use trekking poles, which I have and I've had for some time, my legs don't do very well. I start to get very weak in the legs if I go any distance at all. I don't know what that difference is. I also have a rollator. I have two rollators, in fact. I find that a little heavy to put in the car. Maybe that's just, I need to build up my arm strength, but I've tried all sorts of things. And I think holding on to the rollator, it makes a difference for me in terms of my leg stability over using trekking poles. I don't know what that's all about.
Thank you, Bernie. Lee, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just another comment about rollators. When I went to Mayo, my wife pushed me in the wheelchair just to get in there. And the physical therapist said, "Get out of there now. I don't want to see you in that again. Here's a rollator," which I used the entire time I was there, going back and forth to the hotel. I do use it at the market, although I don't want to schlep it. I tend to use just a cart. I can sit down in the rollator. I think, I forget the name of the lady who's going to Italy I forget Italy. You want to make sure that you have one with the wheels that are thicker and rubber. It's definitely doable, and you sit down as often as you want.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. Brenda, your hand, go ahead.
Yes, like others have mentioned, I find I can zing around the supermarket very quickly with a shopping cart. For one thing, the shopping cart wheels do not wobble all over the place, which may be what you find sometimes when you use a rollator, which you're exerting so much muscle trying to keep the rollator going straight. And I'm going to look up a video and then I'll report back to you. But there was a video by the two men who are physical therapists on YouTube, and they showed how they had modified the front wheels of the rollator by putting these little metal strips that kept the wheels from swiveling, and said that for a lot of people, it's a lot easier to use a rollator if the front wheels don't swivel all over the place. And that certainly has been my finding. My own mother used a rollator in her later years, and I have it sitting out in the garage, and I need to modify it and get with it. I also wanted to mention to our younger members that are recently diagnosed or recently finding that they can't ignore your symptoms any longer, is that I'm more like 20 years down the line now. I was born in 1939, and in the last few years, I no longer have any pain. So I think eventually enough of your nerves burn out that the pain just dissipates. I can't remember the last time I had pain as I used to have terrible cramping and springing out of bed in the middle of the night trying to walk through the pain. And so there is a candle at the end of the tunnel that perhaps with time, you won't have the pain that you're experiencing now. I can now get by with just 300 milligrams of gabapentin at bedtime and haven't had any problems in quite some time. So I think with time, a lot of this can dissipate rather than you may be afraid that it will get worse. I do sometimes wake up feeling like the Statue of Liberty with my right hand, just feeling like it's on fire, but I shake it and rub it and that goes away quickly. So we all cope and find out what works for us.
Thank you, Brenda. Bernie, go ahead. Oh,
I didn't have my hand up, but that's very interesting. I'm 1 year younger or older than you are, Brenda. And I was diagnosed in 2017. Now, whether I'll reach a point where I won't have the pain, that would be a wonderful thing. But I haven't experienced that yet.
okay. I see a hand over the Gulf of America. Rich?
Janice
I was
also has
just gonna-
hers up.
I was just going to respond to the hiking poles versus the rollator, and I think the reason, if you had a long distance to go, the rollator is going to probably be better because you're taking some of the weight off of your legs, your arms. You know, you're sharing the load, the strain of walking. Whereas with the hiking sticks, that doesn't really take that much off your legs. It just kind of maintains your balance. That's all.
Thank you, Rich.
Very good point. Yes, thank you.
Janice, is your hand up? Hello, Janice. Any other hands up? Any other comments?
Brenda's back up. Janice, what's doing with you?
Brenda, are
Can you
you
hear
back
us?
up or you back down?
I'm back up. Travel. A rollator has a seat. You can sit down and rest. But also, even if you don't take a rollator when you travel, when you go to a museum, ask a guard, where are their chairs or where are their benches? And that way you can pace yourself through the museum and know when you're looking forward to the fact there's going to be a chair or a bench where you can sit down. Even in Italy, they often had chairs in the corners of the museums. They were probably really there for the people that work there. But I always would ask, where is there a chair? Where is there a bench? And they would tell me in advance where to look for a place where I could sit down and rest before rejoining the group. So always ask.
I agree. I agree. Any other questions, ideas? Yes, Scott, go ahead.
Well, what has the experience been with picking a rollator on an airline? I've not tried it. I love the rollator. It enables me to keep walking, keep moving, not rusting. And I am surprised at how quickly you can rust. I had sore feet for 2 or 3 days and took it easy, and blood pressure dropped down near the Antarctic, and my balance got way off. I got my rollator at Mobility. It was not cheap. It was double what a standard rollator costs, but it's been my salvation. I'm just wondering what it's like with an airline, if anybody's had that experience.
The one I saw advertised, it folds up flat, and it's only like 8.5 pounds. So I might pursue that. I don't know.
Mobility City was really good when I dealt with them. I'm 6'2", and he said, I really don't want to sell you a standard one because you're just too tall. And the seat makes a huge difference for me. I've gone into DC to art galleries, and I go with it. I keep going, and then I go to a certain point, I sit down. I spend a little more time with one painting or one photograph, and finding I'm enjoying it even more.
Thank you, Scott. Lee, your hand's up. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. We've rented rollators when we've traveled. We go to New York on occasion, call ahead, set it up to the hotel, and they get us a rollator. The other thing is, in certain museums, actually in a lot of museums, you can get a wheelchair, which has also been very helpful. So those are 2 tips.
Thank you, Pat.
Yes, I wanted to remind everyone that we had an interview with the owner of Mobility City, and it is posted, I think, on our YouTube channel. But one of the things that he said to us, Diva, a former member, went with me, and she used walking sticks. And she asked him a question about renting wheelchairs and how much a problem she's had with that. And he said, you have to be really careful that they fit it to you and not just give you a wheelchair, because as Lee or whoever it was just said about being taller, she's very short. So it was difficult for her to fit in a quote standard. He said they actually should measure the seat for your body size and make sure it's comfortable and not just give you one off the rack. It should be a planned kind of arrangement if you're going to rent one. And he does both rent and sell them. And it wasn't a sales pitch. He was just telling us that this is something people who like at a museum, they just take whatever wheelchair is available, and it may not actually be comfortable because it's not fitted to their, especially their height, but even of course their weight. So that's a thought it reminded me. And you can go to the YouTube channel and watch the interview. And when we walked around the store and saw all of the different equipment that was available. So that might be useful.
A question about YouTube. How do I get it? Where do I find that YouTube channel? What do I look at?
Judd, would you like to answer?
Yes, I would. I don't have a link for you. It's pretty lengthy, but there's a couple of ways. You can go to the website and just go down to the bottom on the footer. I believe there's a link to it there. But also you can go to YouTube and just search on PNSN, Peripheral Neuropathy Support Network, and you'll go to our channel.
Oh, okay.
And then
Thank
you
you.
just stop there.
Okay, super. Thank you.
There's lots of videos there. There's dozens of videos.
Okay, it's 3:50 and Pat's gonna have closing remarks, but I want to let you know I had a birthday the other month and someone said to me, put life in your years and not years in your life, which I thought really made some sense about getting up and doing things socially.
Does
Exercise.
it work for Hallmark cards?
Yeah. Good.
Oh, that's
You
good.
caught me. Okay, Pat.
All
It's
right.
up to you. Take us home.
Okay, Judd, if you could bring up the wrap-up slide, that would be helpful.
Okay, let's see if I can do that.
How you feeling today, Judd? Okay?
Terrible.
Oh dear.
I'm glad it's 3:50.
Oh, that makes
But
me
never
sad.
mind. Oh no, it's great. Nothing
Well, it's
major
really
this
at
time.
3:51, Judge, so.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Thanks for that.
All right, basically I put up this this wrap-up slide so that if you want to take a picture, it might be useful for you. We will eventually be putting the recording up from today and the slideshows, but if you want to remember what I'm saying, the dates and times, I thought it might be useful to just pull out your camera and take a picture of this slide. Anyway, we're going to go at the beginning, the upcoming meetings. This group, the DC Virginia PN support group, will be next meeting on April 5th at 2 p.m. Eastern time always. And we will be having open discussion. We try to have 2 or 3 open discussions followed by a speaker, because we know people like to ask questions and hear other people's experiences. So open discussion is useful as a speaker. Please go to our website, pnsnetwork.org, to join, to make sure that you receive all future announcements and invites as well as resources. And as I said, April meeting will be open discussion. The second group, Bethesda Chevy Chase PN support group, next meets on March 21st at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Again, focus on open discussion. And this group is led by our former leader, Steve Klitzman. You can reach him and register for the Bethesda evening group at steve.klitzman@gmail.com. And I can put that in the chat.
Pat, the 21st is a Friday, is that correct?
That's wrong. Sorry, it's supposed to be the Thursday.
Okay, that's what I thought. So the 20th.
The third Thursday of the month, if you will check that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Western Neuropathy Association, amazing group, has various groups, days and times. You should be able to find something that fits your needs if Saturday doesn't work for you. Glenn, you can feel free to quote advertise now, or
Yeah, we
pnhelp.org for details. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, we're actually doing now, we're up to 7 online groups and 3 live groups per month. The live groups are in California and Texas, so don't worry too much about those if you're not there. But we do general groups the 2nd Saturday of the month, the 3rd Wednesday of the month, and the 4th Saturday of the month. The 2nd Wednesday of the month, we have a specialized group that I run for people with chemo-induced neuropathies, and we talk about a lot of the issues there. On the evening of the 3rd Wednesday, there's a CIDP autoimmune neuropathies group that John Phillips runs. He's the one who lets his teenagers beat on him.
Oh, yeah, it gets beat on.
That's right. And we also have now, we've taken over the Colorado neuropathy group. And actually, Jeff Creech is the guy who runs that one. Jeff is here today. And that's going to be on the 2nd Tuesday, right, Jeff, if I'm not mistaken? Where is Jeff in this pile?
Correct. Second
Yes.
Tuesday every month.
2nd Tuesday every month.
3 Mountain Time. Yep.
Yeah, which is it going to be 3 o'clock Central? What time do you guys have that scheduled for? 3 o'clock Mountain, excuse me.
It's 3 Mountain to 4:30 Mountain Time, but we go over occasionally, of course.
Yeah. So for those of you who have to make the transition, if you want to register for that, and you can do that through pnhelp.org, which is the WNA website. It's 3 Mountain, 4 Central, 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific.
Excellent. And these are also on our calendar for the pnsnetwork.org. You can go to either of those websites to find out the details of days and times and focus. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the Foundation for Peripheral Neuropathy is having a webinar on the March 3rd, soon, at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And the title is The Value of Genetic Testing for Inherited Neuropathy. Might be of interest to a number of our members here. You can register at thefoundationforpn.org. Again, that's their next webinar is on March 3rd. Finally, I'd like to talk briefly about Brain and Life, the magazine. Brain and Life is both a print magazine and an online subscription. I found it interesting that the February-March 2025 issue has an article called "You Don't Look Sick, How to Talk About Symptoms No One Sees." And I thought immediately of Bernadette, because one of the issues, of course, is that your family doesn't understand. They don't see you actively in pain or unable to move, perhaps, or they are not comfortable themselves, not sure how to treat you. Please look at You Don't Look Sick, How to Talk About Symptoms No One Sees. They also have an article this month about the value of exercise. I think it was again Bernadette or someone who referenced their caretakers or their caregivers saying, or their practitioners saying exercise won't help. Yes, it will. And there's another article on caregiver burnout. So you can go to their website, their brainandlife.org. The word "and" is spelled out, and you can subscribe to the print and or the online copy.
And it's free.
And it's free, and it's really valuable. I always find something every month related. Yes, of course, they're going to talk about other brain-related issues, MS, whatever, but it also has something, it seems, that applies to the chronic pain and issues of peripheral neuropathy almost every month. Finally, I referenced earlier that at 4 o'clock we are going to officially close this meeting, but open up overtime. And overtime is less formal. It's just a chat. It's an opportunity for more socialization. So if you have an interest in staying, we keep on until 4:30, and you might want to join us at the close of this meeting. And speaking of closing, we are asking you to please complete the exit survey that pops up immediately after you leave this meeting. It's very simple, 3 basic questions. Essentially, what were your takeaways today? How did you enjoy it? Do you have suggestions for other topics that you would like to see addressed? And it helps us with planning. So that is my wrap up.
All right, thank you, Pat. And I've got 2 minutes, and remember, motion is lotion, rest is rust. Go slow and go low, and sit and be fit.
A reference to yoga, chair yoga, which I found excellent. We do have a minute here for PC 454563, who I'm sorry, I don't know who that is, but she is asking for a rollator that is less than 7 pounds, has no shopping basket, and the chair folds back. Oh, I'm sorry, she signed it, Myrna. Myrna, do you have a further question for the group? I guess she maybe has left.
What? She left.
Or she
Maybe
can
she
unmute
wanted to-
one or the other.
Maybe she wanted to get a rollator.
Well, anyway.
Anyway, I declare
Are you
it
talking about me?
overtime, and I will see you guys
about
again
Myrna.
in April, because I have to go out and Pat, you on board. I'm going to go put some life in my years.
Excellent.
All
All
right.
right. And overtime, are we ready?
Overtime begins right now.
I'll give you something else to talk about. I went to an acupuncturist for the first time last Sunday. I'm going to go again tomorrow, so we're seeing. I can't remember. I think it was Chuck Barnhart that had said he had gone a few times to an acupuncturist, and he said it helped him immensely. So we shall see.
I think that, again, it's finding the right fit for your practitioner. If you can relate with him or her. I did not get much relief at all from acupuncture and stopped doing it, but we'll be looking forward to hearing more about your experiences, Rebecca.
Okay.
I do wish that insurance covered acupuncture.
Yeah.
That would be really nice.
I don't know if it's my particular plan, but it did pay for mine.
Oh, really?
What was your plan?
Aetna, Medicare Aetna.
Does anyone have any suggestions on, I know it's probably a huge topic, but shoes? I have literally bought, I mean, so many pairs of shoes, it's not even funny. I've gone to places that have like put me on a machine and they've done all this stuff and I've Hoka's and Brooks and all these really good ones, and my feet just hurt no matter what, it seems. And except for certain summer ones, but I can't wear socks with them. Or if I'm on the beach walking barefoot, I'm great. I'm great barefoot. But of course, again, this trip to Italy, I've got my brain going on shoes, and I'm sure it's different for every person though.
Where exactly are you going in Italy?
Tuscany. Yeah. That's where I'm staying, Tuscany.
Yeah.
I'll be in Florence, Siena, that area.
Yeah. Florence is fairly flat, so that's good.
But I'm sure shoes is a huge topic that you guys have talked about probably endlessly.
Constantly.
Constantly, yes. Bernadette, we actually had a person speak to us about shoes, and we thought it was a very good presentation, and he included about orthotics and other assistive devices and such in it also, I am pretty sure, is on our YouTube channel, the recording for that. If you give your email, if you're willing to give your email in the chat, you can do it directly to me, Pat Gualtieri. I can check that for you.
I will do that. Thank you.
Bernadette, I just want to suggest, try to find those, and there are many of them, instead of buying your shoes online, to start with, go visit an actual store and talk to the people that kind of know what's going on. And then make sure they have the policy that you can take your shoes home and wear them inside for a week and then return them. I did that many, many times over the years. And that really helped me zero in. I cannot wear shoes that are closed toe anymore. For a long time, I haven't been able to. So I live in my Fin Comfort sandals, which cost an arm and a leg. But I even wear them in the winter, and I carry my boots in the car. So they're the only ones I can wear at this point, and they're well worth the great expense that they are. But it's just try them on, walk around your house, take them back if they don't work. It's really trial and error, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. And I just should have waited until winter to do this because I couldn't go back because we had February was back-to-back snowstorms constantly, and that's
Yeah.
so I couldn't return them. But I will keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy in a local store in Madison, one of the co-owners of a longstanding shoe store. He wears the same sandals I wear. And he said, you should just wear them in the winter. And I said, you know what? I'm not hiking anymore. I'm not really walking anymore around. I'm just going from A to B in a parking lot. And so now I wear really thick socks in the winter and I wear my Fin Comfort sandals. So that's my thing.
Thank you, Mary.
Well, I think that was really amazing. I did not realize that you had stores that would allow you to walk use them actually for a week and return them. I too have bought too many that didn't work out. So I understand, Bernadette.
Well, I bought from Ortho Shoe online, and they offer a 30-day wear at home return if it doesn't work. And I had no problem. And in fact, I have 2 pair of their shoes, and it's made a big difference for me. I don't remember the URL, but it's just Ortho Feet. And if you Google it, I imagine you'll come up with it. I think they're located, they're mainly an online operation. One of the problems about buying shoes is finding, I don't know of anybody in the DC area who specializes in orthotic shoe wear. If anybody does, I'd sure like to hear about them.
My neurologist told me to have house shoes. He didn't want me walking barefoot. My feet get so tender and so sensitive, I can't even touch my toes when they're really flaring. And I have sandals, which I find very difficult to wear because of that, because it's hurting my toes. I can't stand the pressure on my toes. So he says house shoes, and he was pushing Birkenstock. I had a feeling he had some stock in Birkenstock somewhere. But anyway, does anybody know of what a comfortable house shoe that you can wear even when your toes are really, really sensitive and flaring?
Bernie, I get I think they're deer stocks. Sorry.
Your foam?
Isotoner.
What are they called? Deer?
I think I'm trying to figure out what brand they are. But they're Isotoner, and they've got a arch support. My main issue is I've got extremely high arches.
Well, I do also, yeah.
Yeah, so do I.
Isotoner.
Isotoner, yeah.
Are they soft inside?
Yeah.
I think they're advertised as slippers.
This is one of them I'm wearing now.
Yeah, something like that. I guess that would pass as a house shoe.
I got something like that from Ortho Feet when boy, do they, and they're great.
Really?
And they have, you can build your own support inside. I have balance issues.
So do I.
And I really can't walk in bare feet, even socks. And they have sizes that my feet seems to have expanded. And I need the widest shoe you can get at times. And they have up to a 6E. It depends on the time of year, it seems, as to how much swelling I get. But at a certain point, I can't seem to regulate it with pharmaceuticals. And so those shoe sizes have saved me.
This is from OrthoFeet, all of it. Yeah, good.
Right. And I just Google it. And the only drawback to them is they're pretty heavy on marketing. And so you're going to get ads from them on your webpage forever and a day.
Well, maybe I'm going to get that now, Scott, because I just Googled orthotics in Washington, D.C. area. Have you heard of the Good Feet store?
Yeah, but they didn't seem to have a large selection.
Okay. I just Googled it, so I don't know anything about them other than the fact they came up. They're in Northeast Washington. They got 4.8 stars, which that's pretty good for anything. But
they're in McLean and also Richmond, I think.
Yeah, I went to a Good Feet store and I got my Hokas.
Well, now, did they have somebody who really knew what they were selling?
Oh yeah, yeah. You have to get on this machine and walk and test it and all this kind of stuff. And I've got a wide foot too, with very high arches. And yeah, they let you put these shoes on and walk around in them for a while.
Well, I'll check that out. I haven't really looked in a couple of years because I've been so pleased with what I've gotten. So when it comes time, I'll do that. Thank you.
I think we have one of those in St. Louis also. I've seen an ad for them.
One thing I noticed when Rebecca held hers up, they're slip-ons without a back. And for me, I simply walk out of them. I cannot get a small enough size.
Yeah, I've got some that are also, I think the brand name is Deer Foam or Deer Form. I've got some also that have a backing on it.
Yeah, I have that on one pair, and it really makes a difference. It works better if I use a shoehorn.
Yes, I'm sure.
But you do have to have a backing on them, otherwise I slip right out of them too.
Yeah, yeah.
And the wide toe box, I didn't know necessarily the whole shoe, like a double E as you suggested, but I remember that the shoe person who spoke to us said, make sure you have a wide toe box so that you're not impinging or putting pressure on those painful toes.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, thank you.
We had somebody come from a few months ago. Somebody come from Shoe Fly. They're in McLean. I was very impressed. They have people who I'm not necessarily one for every store, but they have people who specialize in fitting shoes for special cases. We had a session on that a few months back. And somebody mentioned Good Feet store. They're heavily advertised. I don't know how good they are. I guess it's a case of just trying it and see if you can find somebody who seems to be helpful.
I went to Comfort Shoes and stood on their computerized measuring and bought shoes. They were no better or more comfortable than any other I had bought. So I was not impressed there.
I have really all set of shoes I bought, and I guess it would have been 2008 or 9 or something, 7. And they're just so comfortable. I keep wearing them. Like they look kind of horrible, but and I said, well, these look so bad. I'll go buy some. So I went out and bought some more shoes, 2 more pairs of shoes from the same company, and one of them looks really nice, but I don't find it as comfortable. And one of them that I got, it turned out that it wasn't as supportive, but it was actually made of bamboo. They so you can just take these looking shoes and throw them in the wash like a tennis shoe. Kind of interesting, but I eventually found that they weren't supported enough of my ankles, so I stopped wearing them. Another problem I have is I have drop foot. So that's an old problem. When my first son was born, that was that was 50 years ago, 52 years ago. They brought the son into my wife to nurse him, and the nurse asked if she could go get me, and she said, "Never mind, I hear him," because I have what they call foot slap, which is a way of walking that's not good, and it eventually led to foot drop when I got peripheral neuropathy. I don't know if anybody else has that problem, but the problem is you have difficulty keeping your toes up, so you tend to trip.
Yeah, I do that too. I have that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Mike, was there an injury associated with that that triggered it?
No, I think it's probably genetic.
My wife had an injury, and she now has fairly pronounced foot drop. So I was just curious.
I think it could have been corrected if anybody had noticed it as a child, but no, I never had a problem with it. It just when I'm walking down a hospital hall, everybody can hear it.
Can't sneak up on anybody, huh?
Can't sneak up anybody. No.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when you were a child, so was orthopedic medicine. So orthopedic medicine is still fairly new, and the advances have come mainly in the last 30 years. So
I wear a product called Foot Ups, and they have a sleeve that goes around your ankle, and a tongue that goes in your shoe, and there's an elastic strap that runs from this tongue that's in your shoe underneath your laces up to this strap that goes around the ankle, and it pulls your foot up, pulls the toe of your foot up. So it's kept me from tripping. It's not 100%, but it has allowed me to avoid falling.
What's it called?
It's actually called Foot Up, FOOT-up. And they're not very expensive. They're about $100 will buy you a set for both feet. And been very effective for me. Actually went out and got braces. And that's the reason I knew about this store, the Shoe Fly store, because I went out and bought a bigger set of shoes to go with the braces. But I found that the braces, they come up to almost up to your knee. And I found that I've had difficulty walking in the braces, so I ended up not using the braces.
I don't think up to that point. But that does sound like a good idea with the pulling you up.
Yeah, I had a physical therapist, occupational therapist come actually, and we walked around a lot in these braces and in the Foot Ups, and his final conclusion was that if I could keep just walking safely with the Foot Ups, that would get more exercise of the muscles in my ankles, and that was in the long run would be safer to try to keep the strength in my ankles up over the
Really?
long.
One other thing we learned at Mobility City was that there is an actual piece of equipment. I don't know what he called it, but if you're sitting down and you can't get up, you have a caregiver or a spouse or a friend, you hold one end, they hold the other, and they pull you up. It's amazing. I would think that anybody who is concerned about falling and not being able to propel themselves back up, this little mechanism was amazing. There is a lot to see in the Mobility City store. If you haven't gone, you should, and have the opportunity, either watch our recording or actually go to the store.
Actually, I saw a device there that that fits on the latch on your car door.
Yes.
On the interior latch, where the door kind of locks itself into position. As you get out of the car, it's going to be about where your wrist is. And I often put my wrist on that and push myself up. But it hooks onto that and you can use it as a handle. But I wonder what over the long run it will do to the car with the weight being pushed on it like that. So I didn't pursue it. But it may be worthwhile. I may take another look at it. The great thing about the roller, the walker that they sold me, and I can't remember the brand name, it's a Canadian brand, is that it has a seat and that is at the perfect height and can be adjusted to your own height. And that's the salvation. I can hop up and hop down in a very natural way without all the effort, not worrying about being pitched forward, getting too far in front of my skis, as they say. And I think that's one of the benefits of the roller that I got.
I noticed that Janice Grief has her hand up. I wonder if maybe we could get her to go ahead and speak up. Janice, are you still there?
You hear me?
Oh, yes.
Okay. There was something strange going on with my computer, which I'm terrible with the other time. I hope you don't mind, I'm talking about something different, but I'm planning on starting low dose naltrexone on Monday. And I'm nervous about the fact that it says that people get vivid dreams. Is there anybody there who knows what that means? I'm particularly worried because one time over a year ago, I found myself on the way out of bed onto the floor. And I don't know what happened. It only happened once, but I thought maybe it was connected with a dream and I thought I was getting out of bed or something like that. And, I was really asleep. So I'm worried that this vivid dream will make me try to do that again or something like that I'll be scared in it and get hurt. Anybody know anything about low dose naltrexone at all or anything about vivid dreams?
I can talk to you a little bit about low dose naltrexone. That is one of the few side effects that some people have reported, but it's not something that's very common. The people who seem to have this happen to are few and far between, and it doesn't make them do any sort of like sleepwalking or night walking in that sense, which tends to happen not in REM dreaming sleep, but in deeper phases of sleep anyway. But a few people have talked about that they had some very, very detailed dreams that they can recall. Not always great, although I don't know if you'd call them nightmares specifically, but sometimes they have anxiety elements to them. But see what happens with it, because that's like one of the few things that has been reported with it as a drug to try and reduce pain, even though it generally takes a while to build up and be effective. For the most part, it has had a pretty benign side effect profile otherwise, at least compared to some of the other stuff they throw at us.
How about Glenn, you're a perfect person to try to get this answer from. What are my chances of being helped? I've had so many things over so many years not help that it gets discouraging.
It's hard to say because we're all experiments of one. Certainly in the WNA groups, there have been a number of people on low dose naltrexone who've reported some good results. One of our directors, in fact, said it was the only thing that really helped with her neuropathic itching, which was nice to hear. There are some people who didn't notice much of anything. Even if they ramped up, to what are usually the largest scale dosages, which are usually somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4.5 milligrams, much lower than what they use it for opiate withdrawal, by the way. But it turns out that, it's certainly worth a shot. It certainly works, in a somewhat different mechanism than the anti-epileptics or the antidepressants do. Because it occupies the mu receptors, which tends to block pain signals. And, but I would just say if you're on it, give it a trial. A lot of people say they don't really notice much for several weeks, maybe sometimes months. And sometimes finding the right dosage for you is a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Glenn, you mentioned neuropathic itching.
Yes.
I have itches in places I never used to have itches. I have them every day, and I don't think it's dry skin necessarily. Is that what I'm experiencing?
Neuropathic itch is very common with particularly small fiber syndromes, because those are also mediated by small fibers. Most of the time, because the itch tends to be localized, even if you have it in places you haven't had it before, most people will say try the topical route first to try and block that chemical cascade that causes the itch. Certainly in the case of the director, who is Sam Fields, by the way, talking about it, she didn't get any relief with the topicals, and she was using the low dose naltrexone actually for something else. And this was a happy, byproduct of her using it. That's like, oh, it seems to have calmed down my small fiber signaling, and I'm not as itchy anymore. But she's the only one in our groups that's reported that so far. Most of the other people have been using it just to try and reduce the neuropathic pain. And I would say that about 2/3 of the people, admittedly small sample size, about half a dozen, about 4 of them seem to indicate they got some relief with it, and only a couple said they didn't have any effect at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fairly new thing, and it has to be done at a compounding pharmacy. The problem, I think, with it being more widely used is that a lot of doctors simply do not know about this. Even if you take them articles on it, they just haven't heard of it, being used in that way. It's the type of thing they tend to know more about at a tertiary center, where they tend to stay up on the research.
Right.
Glenn, you've mentioned topicals. I only have it occasionally, but it drives me crazy, the itching in the bottom of my feet, and I can't do anything except just let it pass. Or it didn't seem that anything, no cream, moisturizing cream made any difference. Do you mean something like lidocaine?
People sometimes use that. They use the old standby calamine lotion.
Oh, wow.
If they can. And they even actually do that on the bottom of their feet. The bottom of the feet can be tricky with itch. And part of that is that all of us have a certain degree of callosity on the bottoms of our feet, even if you think your feet are the, baby skin soft that you'd like to keep them. Obviously, the fact that we've walked on them for so many years tends to produce a difficult job getting topicals through that first layer of protective skin of the callus and into the itchy area. It's easier, like, if you have an itch on, like your forearm, it's easier to get relief from that than an itch on your elbow, because your elbow is likely to be more calloused. Same with, like, lower and upper parts of your feet. Top of the feet is easier than bottoms of the feet.
My wife has found a TENS unit be very effective for itching. Basically what an itch is, if it bothers you, is you get a sensation from part of your body, and your brain says, well, what is this? This is something I don't like. and you tend to focus on it, and lidocaine and calamine lotion and TENS units all work on the distraction principle. They provide another signal to you, and your brain focuses on that because it's a dominant signal. It's a louder, in a sense, louder signal. And then after a while, after a half hour of the TENS, the TENS signal stops. And then you realize that you're no worse off than you were when you started. Maybe there is still that itching signal coming from part of your body, but your brain says, "Oh, I guess I'm okay." And now that works for her. It doesn't work for everybody, but it is that distraction principle is very effective for her.
This is the TENS machine you're talking about?
TENS, yeah, TENS.
Yeah.
You can get a set, like on Amazon for like 35, $50, something like that.
Yeah.
And you can get them now with a lot of bells and whistles too. They'll give you, different speeds, different pulse patterns, different, looping intensities, sine waves, all sorts of stuff.
And I was
play
told
around.
if you have a prescription, your insurance may pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, I kid around. I still have my old TENS unit. It's almost like 12 years old now, and I probably should replace it. But since it still works, I use it. The whole TENS thing, to follow up on what Mike's saying, is that there's a paradox in nerve signaling. Believe it or not, the small fiber nerves that subsume the sensations of pain and temperature signal more slowly than the larger diameter sensory nerves that subsume the sensations of vibration, mechanical touch, and so on. So if you can set up an electrical pulse that the larger fibers will pick up, it tends to mask, simply because it travels faster, the pain sensations from the smaller fibers.
So Glenn, I'm curious, because I use a TENS unit, it makes me feel better, but does it improve my situation overall?
I've never seen any evidence in the literature, and believe me, they've been trying to look for this, that the use of pulse therapies, TENS and electrostim and things like that cause any help with circulation or nerve regrowth. It just seems to be more of a palliative thing to help relieve symptoms. I mean, I kid people all the time. I like my TENS unit. It does provide relief while it's on. If I shut it off, very soon I'm going to be back to whatever I was trying to deal with. So
I use mine, we all have our routines. My routine at night, I lie in bed and I hook it up and I watch Everybody Loves Raymond. I like to go to bed with, some humor, so my dreams are more pleasant, I guess. But the nights I use it, and sometimes I'm just too tired. I don't do it. And I need my wife to help. She puts it on my back. The physical therapist said, L3, L5, and I put the pads she does in that location. And I do find that I sleep better when I've done that treatment. And then maybe in the morning when I wake up, I'm feeling a little bit better. But, throughout the day, get back to my normal self, which is not as good perhaps as when I first woke up after having done the TENS unit. So, but I think, and I'm sorry I missed our speaker today, but I think her message was do whatever makes you feel better, because you want to, enjoy your quality of life to whatever extent you can. And so, I mean, that makes me feel better, but yeah, I agree. Well, in my case, I'm not seeing any, real long-term improvement in health.
I have a new thing that I just got here about less than a month ago. It's an electric blanket. It's not a full-size electric blanket. It's called a throw. It's about, I don't know, 4 feet square or so. And my problem is that my feet are very cold when I go to bed at night. And this thing just warms up. I have tingling in my toe. I had it. It's the first sign I had of peripheral neuropathy 20, 27, 28 years ago, and it's still there. It still tends to annoy me when I try to go to sleep at night. And I found that this nice warm blanket tends to make my feet feel warmer, and I find allows me to go to sleep quicker at night. I don't your mileage may vary, but this was a revelation to me. It's allowed me to get to sleep much more quickly and reliably. I suppose, given that I was pre-diabetic when all this started, I suppose that it's possible that the circulation in my legs is not as good as it should be.
Where to find camera icon when using Zoom on iPad?
That's a separate session.
Which would probably last 2.5 hours.
Where to find? Thanks.
Well, so one of the things coming in late, I don't know if anyone else experienced this coming in late. I'm really sorry I missed our speaker because I thought she was excellent. But when I came on, I'm looking at the chat room because I was thinking, everybody asked really good questions. I like the Q&A parts in the chat, but my chat log, so to speak, it only started when I first joined this meeting, which was right at 3 p.m. sharp. So I only have the messages at that point in time. I don't know if there's a way of seeing the entire Q&A log for the Zoom meeting. Does anyone know the answer real quick?
Yes, Rich.
Thanks, Pat.
It'll be posted on the website. Judd has been ill for the last week. Poor man, he really has been struggling with flu. But anyway, we will be posting. I just saved the chat. I have to leave now.
Okay.
I just saved it up to now, so that at least will be shown. Okay.
Very good. Thank you so much, Pat. Thank you very much.
Could I say something before we leave? Pam Hasegawa.
Yes.
We can see you.
Oh, you can.
Yeah. We can all see you and we can hear you. Yes. I don't know why you're yeah.
Yeah, now they're okay.
I don't know why you can't see yourself, but yeah, we can all see you.
Okay, I thought I
love the woodwork behind you.
Somehow left out. Do you know how can I find the camera icon? Oh, well, this took care of it.
Where it says stop video.
Oh, that's what
Lower left corner of your screen on the iPad.
Okay, thank you so much.
You have the option. I don't see it here now. You have the option in video settings, I think, but I'm not positive, of hiding your own view. That's an option.
Like that.
Yeah. Now I can see, I'm seeing you one at a time as you speak. How do I get back to the page that has everybody's face on it?
Top right corner.
You go up to view. It says view.
Top right corner of
view of your screen.
It says view, and it
on the top right corner it says PNSN monthly Zoom meeting.
At the very top.
No, not it. You're in the chat bar. If you're in play, it's the very tippy top thing. It says recording, sign in, view.
Oh, okay. I'm looking for that recording, sign in. Oh, that's what I don't. Oh.
Are you on the iPad or are you on a laptop?
I'm on an iPad and I've had it 3 weeks and I'm just struggling like crazy.
Well, it's a little different because I use both, and my memory is so short. Short-term memory is not so good anymore. So
me too.
Trouble directing you. If I could see the screen, I could probably do it.
click everywhere and see if you can find view somewhere. And
Okay.
the option of gallery, and gallery shows all the other images.
Oh, that's how you do it. Gallery. I'll just write a note about that because I know we're going to end in a minute. Look for word gallery.
Tap on, you might also try, no, that is not working. Look at,
Pam, first look for the word view, because that's where everything else comes under that. So
Where, okay, and where do I look for that?
no, just write that down, because later,
Oh, I did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so view is where you should start. Look for the word view on your screen.
And
Okay.
mine's got a little checker box next to it.
Right.
Okay.
But iPads may be different.
Yeah.
okay, on the iPad, there are 2 dots. And if you tap on the right dot, it's going to bring up everybody who's got their
You all just came up. I don't know
There we
why.
are.
All right.
We're here.
Yay.
Yeah, that's the drawback is the
Most of us,
iPad.
that's a good thing. And then there's occasionally there are people who wish they would.
Well, since
Thank
I'm
you.
all thumbs, I seem to get a big variance on this thing.
Thanks a bunch, guys.
Okay, I'm gonna say bye, folks.
Bye.
Yeah, next.
Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate
Thank you all.
Take care.
I'm
Bye.
leaving also. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I can hear you laughing. Oh, now it says
Nothing with
Zoom.
you, just to be clear.
What?
We're laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you. I
yeah.
appreciate
Let's
that.
put it this way: been there, done that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mm.
Well, I think I'm going to have to sign off too. Thanks to God, Love. It's been a very good meeting. Glenn, I appreciate the way you're able to articulate some very complex situations with this disease, and you've helped me a lot. I've learned a lot by listening to you. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. It's part of what we do, or what we hope to do.
Share and share alike. Thank you.
So let's see, should we call it a night? I know Judson had to go, and
Yeah.
I know you're still there, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if Bernie and Janice and Mark are still there, but
My wife is not threatening me at the moment, so.
at a certain point when you're threatened, you're allowed to ignore it entirely, unless objects are being thrown.
Yeah, well, there's a buildup effect. I think I'm gonna shut us down.
Yeah, might as well.
Unless somebody else voices an opinion contrary. All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Take care.